Hey, Coach, congratulations on the win. After Dallas, you talked a lot about structure and positional discipline. Did tonight feel like the result you were looking for from that conversation?
Yeah, I think it was much better, although I think the first half lacked a little bit of oomph to start the game, and it just again, it felt like it's a second game of a 3-game week, but having said that, we made quite a few changes, and the expectations were to add some zip, and so that's what we addressed at halftime. Is we can talk tactics all we want, and the structure was good, but again, structure doesn't win you games. It's really about the mentality with the structure, with the commitment, with making plays, and we saw that in the second half, right? I think even Gozo had a tough first half, but the mentality to then flip the switch and make plays, and so credit to him, credit to the guys, man. They really turned the screws in the second half and managed the game really well. And then going from last week, we talk about not losing games in vain, and scoring on an attacking set piece without conceding from an attacking set piece is again learning from previous matches. So just really proud of how the guys responded in the second half, and now we have a big one obviously at the weekend.
You mentioned rotation there. There was obviously you had a heavy rotation, but still managed to turn in a pretty clean performance as far as limiting big chances and keeping the spacing tight that we talked about on Saturday.
Yeah.
What does that tell you about the growth of the group, that you can bring in these guys and they can do that for you?
Yeah, I think again, Dom came in and did a solid job on both sides of the ball. Victor put in a solid shift. All the guys that came in there. Griff, I thought was fantastic tonight. I thought for a young man that hasn't played in a long time, I think he was fantastic tonight. And so again, I think, and the guys in the back, the way they're growing and from game to game. Sam and Phil and Dre. We talked a lot about our structure from that standpoint. At times they were playing so far off the line of confrontation that our balls weren't it compromised our structure. And so today they did a great job. And then obviously Hoffa making the saves that he makes to keep us in games. I mean, it's been a really, really good collective performance. And I think that type of performance with 4 or 5 changes really adds a lot of confidence to the group, and they know that they can step in and make a difference, and that's important moving forward.
Thank you. And then just last one for me. You're talking about structure there. Does a performance like tonight, three goals against a torrid team's performances-wise recently, does that reinforce your belief that structure gives you the creativity or creates the flow?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think especially in that second half, I think we were the movement off the ball to find Gozo, Griff's ball into Serge, Zach getting that shot off. All that comes from guys being in really good positions and asking questions of a back line. And so at the end of the day, but they have to still make the plays, and just so really proud. And I think when you have a result like this after a game where you're talking about these things that you need to improve on, and they should be standard moving forward, but you get a result like you do tonight, it really emphasizes the importance of all those things.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Pablo, congrats on the win. Clean sheet, 3 second-half goals for you guys. Is this the RSL that you envisioned at the beginning of the season?
I mean, in an ideal world is what it looks like. But as you see, like, these guys go on the road and they beat up on LAFC, which is a very difficult place to play. And you just know that you're in a dogfight every game in this league. And so I also knew that we were going to have some tough times, and we're going to have some games like the Dallas game where we basically shoot ourselves in the foot and not make them work a little bit harder for their goals. And we weren't sharp in the final third in that game. So, I think every game it's its own event. But what I like about this performance is the mindset that you can have a difficult game, difficult performance, and yet bounce back and play true to who you are. And I think we talked about it before the game. The reactions have to be great in individual plays within a game, but also from game to game, you have to react the right way. And so for me, it was a really spirited second half performance and one that we need to continue to build upon.
And then tonight we saw Victor and Morgan up top together. What do you see in that partnership that works so well together?
Yeah, again, I think they're, I think if we had a bit more tempo to our game, you would have seen a bit more. I think in the open space, they're really, really dynamic. We try to get balls in the box for Vic. There's a couple good half chances in there. But again, I think they're both players that have played at a really high level in Europe, have a really good understanding of the game. And so, again, all these, variations, I think are really important moving forward, given that the congestion in not only this part of the season, but also when we come back from break, there's gonna be a lot of 3-game weeks. And so just getting to see the relationships are really important for us to make the best decisions moving forward.
Coach, you've talked a lot about Gozo and kind of his growth this season. It seems like every week he kind of uncorks a little something extra, or pretty much every week, right? Is he getting to the point where his ceiling, I don't want to say he's reached his ceiling because he's still a young player, but where his ceiling is starting to be seen a little bit more? Maybe like you see a little bit more of what he can be as a fully developed player, or do you still feel like he kind of has a ways to grow as a 19-year-old?
Yeah, no, I think he's got a ways to grow, and I say that alongside with he's really impressed me with his growth, But I think some of the decisions in the first half that weren't going his way, and then he doubled down on it, and he went again on it, and he lost a lot of confidence in himself by doing that, and so I think. It's also understanding not only what your decisions do to the team, but making the same decisions and getting the same results will also take the confidence away from you. I think at halftime it was a really good reset for him. And what's really impressive, again, this growth I think is actually more important than anything you guys see is the mentality to be a young player and not get down on yourself after a difficult first half. But to then go out and then play like he did in the second half, that for me is what speaks volumes about what he can potentially be.
Pablo, what was said at halftime? What did they'd had a couple good chances, a couple breakaways. You'd lost the ball in some dicey spots. They hit the post. So what do you say? How do you address that and yet stay positive? And the results were great, obviously.
Well, again, we're so fortunate to have a guy like Rafa Cabral as a leader, as a captain of this team. I didn't have to say much. As we were walking in, it was really, really clear that first half wasn't good enough. And we always talk about here, at the club, and one of our values is making sure that we create a player-driven culture, right? But if no one dares to step into that space, then it's just a phrase, a slogan. But today, Rafa expressed himself in a way that I haven't heard in many years. I felt like I was that player when I was playing, and so then I just came in and reinforced a little bit of that. But to be fair, but it was definitely driven by Rafa, and I think that hits home because it's when coaches say whatever, right? You're on the sidelines. You always want the ideal, but when someone is in the trenches and is saying this is not good enough, guys, we got to turn the screws, and I hear it from my office. I'm saying that's the best halftime speech you can give. It permeates the soul, right? And so I think again, credit to Rafa, the leadership guys who really expressed their dissatisfaction with the first half. And again, that's how it works. That's when you envision the ideal environment is players leading the group, and today Rafa did that.
Houston had to play back-to-back road games, and they also had to play Sunday. Do you think you saw a little bit of that in the second half, that Houston had one less day to recover?
I'm sure that played a factor. Everything plays a factor, but I think our mentality in the first 5 minutes of that game said a lot as well. And so I think they could have been a bit tired, but then when you go out the first 5 minutes and you're really getting after the ball and you're putting pressure on the ball, that tiredness becomes exacerbated, right? So I think that definitely had an effect, but I think that which we didn't do in the first half, kind of played into that psychology as well.
What happened that Yedlin had so much space to create the goal for Gozo? That seemed really unusual. Can you kind of explain to us what you saw and who created it?
Again, I think that position on our right side, because Rafa always starts on the left side, is kind of a hybrid position. So it could be a three-back build with Hoffa, but anytime their winger decides to cheat a little bit higher to maybe to press Phil, then it's a go time for Dre. And so because they're going a bit of man-to-man. And so anytime you do that, if someone loses their mark, you can basically go to the house. And so, again, the important thing for me, and what we talked about before the game is at times in Dallas, I felt like we were playing safe, or we were playing to not make mistakes. And we wanted to express our bravery. We want to express the game in the best form. And I think that play with Dre to really not pass it early, just keep going, just commit somebody before you dish it. Was really important. So again, Hoffa made the pass out to Dre. Dre made the pass to Goes, and Goes did his thing.
Hey, Coach, congratulations again. We had talked in the last few weeks about how this team in the second half needed to work together to know when to step or when to sit and be on the same page. And we saw it from PQ and a couple others tonight, like talking to both lines. Is that, even with the kids, something that is building where everyone's staying on the same page and talking?
Yes, that's a great question. I think tactics fly out the window, especially now. All these teams are, and I don't know if they're all getting together and talking about how to play us, but they're showing one. They playing a 4 and then they show a 5 when they play us, and so the onus is on us to quickly recalibrate and understand what we're up against. And that comes from the communication on the field, the organizing. And so when we do all our recaps for the games, it's very much player-led. We provoke questions and examples, but it's really them solving the problems so that when we get to the game day, like you're saying, Phil took the onus to really communicate. Noel's another great communicator. Dre's a great communicator, and Sam, with each passing game, seems to be doing a great job of organizing the back line. And I think when you get this, now you're not waiting to halftime or you're sending papers onto the field where the guys are doing it in real time. And the way we've established to get the most out of these guys to be able to do that is to make sure our video reviews are mostly player-led.
Hey, Pablo. Congrats on the win. I think this might be an oversimplification, but I kind of want you to explain how. The offense was pretty poor in the first half. Diego Luna comes in the second half, and the offense is really good after that. And then Sergei Solans comes on as well and contributes to that. Is it an oversimplification to say that the offense kind of revolves around those two, or do those two just elevate it to a different level?
Yeah. No, I think they do. And if you go back to the start of the season, or when Diego really joined us, he's been scoring goals and setting up plays. I think what this game needed was more mobility underneath the strikers, right? And so I think that's what Diego brought. And he was really clean with his decision making. We didn't lose any, balls in underneath to trigger counterattacks. And then I think when you have that, it becomes a contagion. And so when Diego's really clean on the ball, making really good decisions, then everyone is moving off of them. And it becomes like in a game. But you'll notice in games too, where if some of those guys are making tough decisions and bad decisions, we're getting countered a little bit like Dallas, you'll see a lot of stagnation within the structure. And then it just doesn't work anyway. So you need fluidity, you need dynamism. I think Diego brought that in the second half. And then obviously Serge, I think what he brought was a level of conviction on both sides of the ball, whether it was holding the ball up or running a channel or pressing, right? And so I think both of those guys really influenced the attack in a real positive way. So, I'd like to say that the energy and their conviction that they brought in the second half was what was a catalyst to the performance in the second half, especially from an attacking perspective.
Thank you. And then just a couple personnel questions. Can you speak to Standahar being loaned out, what that was about?
Yeah, so again, I think Mason's been an amazing teammate, right? And I think we have one of the best goalkeepers in the league. And in order to, again, make sure that we have guys that are ready to go, this opportunity came up. And Mason was really eager to get back in between the pipes and continue to sharpen his craft, So So he's, I think it's till the end of or just after the World Cup break, we'll be getting him back. But I think it's a great opportunity to where he can, again, just take the rust off. He hasn't played a lot of games in the last year, but it'll be great for him to kind of feel that. So when he comes back, he's ready to rock.
All right, and then last question. Do you have a timeline for when we might see Arias on the field?
Yeah, that's still actually we were just talking about it again. He played at the weekend and had an MRI today to make sure that the issue that he had is all secure. So it's really about continuing to get him reps and making sure that we don't jump the gun too early with this. He's been out since October of last year. And so I think everyone is just super cautious that these kind of injuries are easy to re-aggravate. And so finding the right balance of getting them some minutes and then pulling them off and have a couple down days to then include him in the group for training and then pull him away. So he's got a really specific plan, and medical and performance have been really doing a good job of that. As to when he's going to step on the field is yet to be determined.
Pablo, congrats on the win. With Gozo coming off in the second half on a brace, the casual observer might worry that maybe the tempo might drop a little bit with the player of his caliber coming off. What gives you the confidence to send Zach Booth out there to maintain that tempo? Yeah,
no, Zach's been doing really well as a wing back, and he hasn't played a lot of minutes to really demonstrate it, but one of the things he is extremely fast and has been really good in front of goal lately. And so I think he brings similar attributes as Gozo as far as his speed, as far as his directness and wanting to score goals. And it's a position that's new to him. It's not something that he's played. He's played more as a winger. He's played more interior. But it's really great when you have a selfless group that's willing to learn a new position. And I think he can be really dangerous in that position. So credit to Zach, who's really put his head down and continue to work. And tonight, unfortunately, I think he should have had a goal. Right, it hits the crossbar. But I think that's what Zach is. He's fast. He's direct. And is willing to pull the trigger, and a lot like Gozo. So really excited about his growth with our group.
And Aiden Hazarkani coming on had a pretty night and day difference from last match to this match. So what do you attribute that change in performance?
I think a lot of it is game state. A lot of it is learning. I sat with him yesterday, and we watched his 30 minutes. It was just him and I, and we're just talking about his positioning, his decision making, and more importantly, coming in and understanding what the game state's asking for. And so I think, with all the young players, everyone expects them to be, I think Gozo set an unachievable standard. I think these are unicorns. I think everyone else really needs time to develop and understand the game and understand, again, at this level, the game happens so fast. And so if we're not sitting with video and going through these moments, right, we're talking about what's the game feel like? It's not just watching the game and going, oh, that was a good pass, bad pass. What's the game feel like? Are we on top of it, right? So now, what spaces are we trying to exploit? And so we sat down for, an hour yesterday talking through that with Aiden. And I think that's what we, as a staff, are committed to, is helping these young guys develop. And I think when you spend time with them, they start to feel like they're cared for, and we have their backs, whether they have good performances or not. They're not going to have great performances all the time, right? So the most important thing is that they know that we care, and that we got to continue to give them opportunities. And I think Aiden is another player that has a huge upside that has just begun, right, in his career.
And then Rafa Cabral goes down on the pitch. His Iron Man status kind of maybe in question for a moment. What was the mood around the bench during that time?
Well, my thought was there's no one needs to warm up, because even if his patella is wrapped around the backside of his leg, he's going to stay in goal, right? So it doesn't. There was no nerves there. I think he felt something in the back of his knee, and just wanted to make sure it was good. But there's no one that trains harder. And tomorrow, I'm going to tell you, tomorrow we have training at 12. He's going to be diving tomorrow. I mean, this is how insane his mentality is. But yeah, he is an Iron Man.
Thank you, Coach. That's it for me.
Pablo, Olatunji, expected starter at the start of the season. He's kind of struggled to get into form in the lineup. How do you take advantage of what he brings? Because he is kind of a different player.
Yeah, I think like today, one of the emphasis was we got to get balls in the box, whether we're going more in the channel and then serving the ball quickly, whether it's breaking down the wide areas. We wanted to get more service in the box, and I think he's a fantastic box striker. And I don't think he got as much service, in particular in that first half, that he, every striker's going to need more than 2 or 3 half chances, right? It's just a numbers game, and I don't think we helped him in that regard. So to answer your question, how do we help him? Is understand that we have a beast in there that's always going to be moving, who's a threat in front of goal, as he was last year for us, and scored some fantastic goals. And also in transition is looking up, because he does a good job peeling off his shoulders. So I'd say those are the 2 best ways to really reap the benefits of his skill sets.
And you've had come up and down performances the last 4 or 5 games. How do you turn that around so you have a similar performance on Saturday?
Yeah, I wish it was that easy, Brent. It's for me, it's making sure again that we learn from this game, and this first half wasn't good enough. And then you take that and you say, all right, what did we learn from Dallas? Our attacking set pieces have to be defended better. Also commit to scoring goals in the attack. So and not give away transition goals, because we're either fouling higher up the field or we're closing our back line quicker, right? So for me, it's really about how do you layer performance after performance, take what is good, continue to emphasize those things, but it's really about learning from every game. There's no cheat code. There's nothing I can say that it's like, oh, these guys go out and no. We go through a process. We go through this is what we're looking for. These are areas that we need to continue to work on. And I think this game at the weekend, just the fact that we're playing Colorado is, I think, motivation enough. I think the players, even the new players, understand what this rivalry is about. Obviously, our fans do. It's our first game in this the Rocky Mountain Cup, so my expectation is that from the opening whistle, we're getting after it.
We're going to go with Willie now, but I'll be translating simultaneously, so just give me a little pause in between answers and questions.
Pablo, felicidades por el triunfo. Hay una frase que tú mucho usas y que es goles cambian partidos. Primer tiempo diferente.
Pablo, congratulations.
Segundo.
There's a phrase that you use often, which is goals change the results of a game.
¿Crees y sientes que el autogol ayudó a cambiar mucho el partido?
Do you think that self-goal changed the way that the match was starting?
Por eso el fútbol es tan interesante, que un autogol cambia la psicología de los jugadores nuestros, ¿no? Porque ahora nosotros tenemos confianza y tenemos el gol, y ahora es como te saca la presión.
A self-goal definitely changes the way that the players feel about starting the match, and it gives them confidence.
Y yo creo que en ese momento, a lo mejor el equipo de Houston empezó a sentir el aire, que han jugado 2 partidos tan siguientes, ¿no? Pero es el momento clave, porque nos dio mucha confianza, y de ese momento jugamos uno de los mejores segundos tiempos del año.
In that moment, it's very likely that Houston started to feel that air, that pressure, and coming from 2 games as well, and that changed basically the way that you confronted the rest of the match.
Los partidos se ganan con goles y metimos 2 goles. ¿Te preocupa que a la vez felicidades porque hemos tenido 2 ataques, 2 disparos al arco y los 2 se convirtieron en gol?
We've had
Pero-
2 attacks, and then those 2 attacks became 2 goals.
Pero en otras circunstancias probablemente de 4 metes 1.
But in
Eh,
other circumstances, out of 4 attacks, you only get 1 goal.
¿Con qué te quedas de este partido? ¿Te preocupa todavía la generación o la definición?
What do you take from this match? Are you worried about the definition or la generación, la
Ajá,
definición?
la definición.
what do you take from this match? Do you take the definition? I don't understand what definition.
Yeah,
what do you mean
just
by that?
the finishing or the opportunities created.
¿A eso te refieres?
Pero es muy interesante la pregunta porque el fútbol es tan raro así. O sea, habían partidos contra, decimos, el Dallas, donde controlamos mucho del balón, pero nunca llegamos al arco.
Soccer is very weird. There's matches where we, like for instance with Dallas, we were controlling the ball, but we didn't get to score.
Y cuando un equipo tiene tantos jugadores atrás, es lo más difícil en el mundo. Manchester City, cualquier equipo tiene dificultad marcar cuando tienen 10 jugadores atrás en el frente del arco. Y por eso estamos trabajando en cómo encontrar los carrileros por arriba para meter un centro de una posición más con más ventaja, ¿no? Y yo creo que cada partido es diferente. Hoy día nos tocó marcar 3 goles en el segundo tiempo y con cada gol, como dijiste vos, cambia el juego. O sea, si tenemos un gol, tenemos 2 goles, no hay que seguir marcando goles, hay que jugar más compacto y esperar el momento clave para marcar el tercer. Y eso yo creo que manejamos el segundo tiempo mejor que cualquier otro partido, porque manejamos el partido sin el balón, pero también con el balón. Y eso es un equipo que para mí está ganando un poco de experiencia de los partidos antes.
I didn't want to cut you off because you had a great answer there, but basically it is hard to get to score when you have a team that has a lot of players in the defense, and obviously you need the support of the wing backs to make that happen. And then I forgot the rest.
Yeah, and we've been working on after Dallas, 10 guys in the box, is how do we exploit the spaces behind opposing teams' wing backs to then find better central passes with numbers in the box. But every game is going to present different challenges. Not every team is going to play like that, and I think that's what makes soccer so unique. Is that different shapes, different players, different bounces of the ball on a given day. We've got to be able to have solutions and tools for all those different moments to be a good goal-scoring team. Cool.
Thanks for the translation.
Thank you.
No.
Not you. Just kidding.
I didn't see him too much today.
What's the fit today?
Fit today? I don't know. Some call.
Yeah, I think you need a fit check.
Fit check? Yeah, no problem.
All right, Sean, you can lead us off, but you got to come up with a better question than that one. Pressure's on, just playing.
Gozo, I do want to get to your brace, but first, that first goal. I know own goals can sometimes be a little bit weird in some ways, but Pablo likes to say that goals change games. Did it feel like that own goal kind of changed things for you guys?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like when playing 0-0 and playing 1-0, it's a whole different game. I think it just gives us more confidence and more confidence to just take risks and play our game. So I think it definitely gave us a chance to game.
Did you have a favorite goal tonight? It's the first time you scored a brace, so.
Probably the second one was my favorite. Yeah.
Walk me through it then.
I can't remember who played me the ball, but I just made a curling run, running behind, played me behind, finish it. Steiny played me the ball.
I think it was
Yeah.
Stein,
So, yeah.
You seemed really comfortable in transition tonight. I don't know if that was a result of kind of more spacing from that own goal or maybe playing a little bit more wing back. You were obviously a little bit more forward this match, but do you feel like that's an area of your game that's kind of becoming a strength, I guess, is your transition play?
Yeah, I think it is the strength of my game. I think in the first half I wasn't good all around, but I think in the second half I was finding better spaces and being able to pick my moments when I can go forward and also defending a lot better. So.
And then I do got to ask PQ1, so sorry, Gozo. But Phil, just how big was Rafa tonight, especially in that first half, where it seemed like the offense kind of needed to be, what's the word, like a lawnmower kind of revved up a little bit, and he was just nails clutch over and over again, especially in that first half.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, I feel like he's always been there this season when we've needed him, and I think it's nice to get a clean sheet tonight, kind of give him something in the whole defense to hang our hat on for the game. But yeah, I mean, he keeps us in countless games, so I feel like maybe it's harsh to him, but tonight is just kind of what he does. So we're fortunate to have that.
Gozo, congrats on the win. Congrats on both the goals for you. Talk to me about your role tonight specifically. What has Pablo asking you to do against Houston's midfield?
I was playing a little bit of a different role than I played this season. I was playing in more of a 10. And he was just asking me basically to occupy the outside center back so that Victor could run in behind and just also me stretching the defense while running behind. So.
And then obviously big one for you, as you know, living here in Utah, Colorado, Rocky Mountain Cup. What does that mean for you in terms of the fans and what that means overall?
Yeah, I think it's always a big game, and I think first of all, I think we come into every game with the same mentality. But I think obviously playing Colorado means a little bit more to everyone. So I think we're coming in the same mentalities to fight and to win.
Congratulations on the win, fellas. Philip, can I ask, after the Dallas match, how important was it to come in with a more structured defensive setup tonight?
Yeah, I think anytime we're at home, we have to win. So I think that was first and foremost the priority. And I think this year we've preached being a collective and working for each other, doing the basic things. And I feel like when the results haven't gone our way, that's kind of what we've looked to as an area of improvement. So tonight, I think we did a good job of getting back to that, playing as a unit, defending as one, attacking as one, and I think the result speaks for itself, hopefully.
Do you think tonight was one of the cleaner examples of the identity that Paulo's been preaching this year?
Yes and no. I think we would have liked to have had a better first half. I don't think that was up to our standards as a team. So I think that's always something to improve on, but I felt like, as we've done a number of times this season, second half was a much-needed improvement. So, yeah, lots to build on, but definitely lots of positives.
Thank you. And Xavier, that second goal especially looked like you looked extremely calm on the ball when that popped through. Do you feel like those moments that the game is starting to slow down for you and give you more time to pick out what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I think in the off season, I think last season, I feel like I got in the box and I was a little bit frantic. So I think a big area of focus for me was just to calm myself down and just take my chances. So I've been trying to do that this season, and I think it's paying off a little bit.
Just a little bit. And then it seems like the crowd is really feeding off of you and the energy that you bring, especially the backflips you're doing for your girlfriend's little brother. How does that feel for you coming from here and hearing the stadium erupt when you're going off like that?
Yeah, it feels good. I think I feel the support every time we play at home, and I think it's amazing. It makes me play better, and I think it makes the team play better. So,
thank you very much.
Hey Xavier, I want to ask you about, especially in the first half when you're moving around, playing underneath striker, getting in and out, in relation to the game kind of slowing down. Is it getting easier for you to find those pockets of space quickly and just by instinct instead of just looking for them?
Yeah, I think it's easier for me to find the space. I think obviously in the first half I feel like I wasn't good receiving the ball into space in the pockets that I did find. So I think that's the next thing that I need to work on. I think finding the space is not the problem, but receiving the ball and what I do with it is the next step.
And then Phil, I wanted to ask you about the second half, especially even when there were moments where Houston had the ball, and you talked about wanting to improve on performances, and especially in that second half, even when they had the ball, where it felt like y'all were controlling what they could and couldn't do and dictating the game, even though they had the ball and that structure y'all were building.
Yeah, I think in the first half we let them kind of play to their style a little bit too much. I think we still felt very comfortable in our defensive moments in the first half, but I agree. In the second half, I thought kind of made them try some different things, try to plug some of the holes that they had been finding in the first half. And yeah, I felt like it was definitely a much more comfortable defensive performance in the second half. And
then the change in the midfield tonight with Griffin coming in and putting in the shift he did. How was it for you I know you start to build those communities on the field, but having someone else who can flash and create this opportunity to relieve pressure and be in the right space at the right time?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the hallmarks of this group is that there's really no one who I don't think we have confidence to put on the field, and I think Griff is a perfect example of that. I don't think anyone bats an eye when he's in the 11, and I think today his game spoke for itself. So you build relationships, but I think in training we're able to build relationships with guys who aren't playing every single game. So, yeah, I thought he did an excellent job, and he's a top player. So, for me, it was no surprise.
Hey, Phil, kind of two questions in one. You guys played basically the same back three tonight as you did against Dallas. And I believe it's the first two games you played without Justin Glad, and you're kind of switching into the center there. Can you talk about the difference in what happened in Dallas versus what happened tonight defensively? And then also talk about your difference in your role in switching where you are on the back line, how that changes your play.
Yeah, I think in Dallas, yeah, it was a disappointing performance. I think some of the goals we conceded were tough coming from attacking set pieces, some transition moments. So I think, as I said earlier, like tonight was about shoring those things up and trying to be a little bit more solid in the transition moments. And I think for our team, it's about being good on the ball. I think when we can control games with the ball, we set ourselves up well for success. And then moving to the middle, it's a different role for sure. I think responsibilities are different. I feel comfortable there, and I think with Dre, obviously, it's easy with him on the right side, and Sam's been doing an unbelievable job for us. So I feel like for me, no matter where I'm playing, I feel confident with those guys beside me to be able to play my game, and they'll have my back, and hopefully I can have theirs as well.
Phil, at the start of the year, there was a lot of new players, and looking at the depth chart, it didn't look like there was maybe a clear path in my mind for how you were going to get on the field, and yet here we are, third way through the season. You've started 8 games, and the team's in 4th place. Can you just talk us through what that was like for you, figuring out your role, how you could get on the field, how you could help, and what you've been able to accomplish so far?
Yeah, I think life changes fast. I feel like in this profession, you never know what the next year is going to look like, let alone the next 2 weeks. So I feel like throughout my career, it's just trying to have a level head, take the highs with the lows. And yeah, I think just when you are committed to be there for the team, I think everything else comes easy. And when the opportunity comes, you'll be ready. And this is an easy group to be committed to. Guys make it fun to come in every day and work for each other, and I feel like we support each other no matter who's on the field. So I think at the beginning of the season, I don't think any of us knew what the season was going to look like. I don't think anyone knew what the lineups were going to be. So for me, it was just come to work every day, put my best foot forward, help the team in any way I can, and whatever happens, happens.
Xavier, was that a big difference in what you were asked tonight, a different position with Diego on the bench and he and Morgan kind of split 90? How big a change is that when Pablo moves you like that in the lineup?
Yeah, I think every position is a different role, so I don't think it's really a big change because I've played there in preseason and I feel comfortable there. So I don't think it's necessarily a big role, but I think it's a different role, and yeah, having Diego out and Morgan splitting minutes, so it's a definitely a different game, but yeah, I felt good.
Question for both of you. With the result in Dallas not being where you wanted it to be, how do you personally, in the time away from the pitch, mentally learn from that game without fixating on it? And then, second part of the question, how cathartic is a result like this after a result like that?
Yeah, I think when the results don't go your way, well, one, I think this season is just ups and downs. I think as you spend more time in this league, you know that you can't just ride a high the whole year. You're gonna have these bumps, And so I think, one, I feel very fortunate that we came back home afterwards. I think that's always really helpful. We know that this is our fortress, and with the fans behind us and everything else, we know that we have a serious advantage when we play here. So I think that's nice and makes it easy to move on from games when you feel like you can bounce back at home. But yeah, I mean, again, I think tonight's a great result, but we have another game in 2 days. And so again, I think you got to take tonight and be happy with it, but also move on pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think the same.
Thank you both.
Philip, you've had a pretty standout season so far. What do you attribute that to? Is that what you did in the offseason, or the switch and the focus on the defense? How has that played into how you have played?
Yeah, I think it's just the group we have. Like I said, I feel very confident when we go into games with the guys around you. And I think this year, with the style of football that we play, you see a really daring group. And I feel like that's only possible when you have belief that someone else has your back, and that making a mistake is not the end of the world, and it's something that we encourage to try things. So I feel like for me this year, it's just been that. I feel great in this group. I feel fortunate that when I take the field, I got 10 other guys who I have 100% faith in and who will lift me up throughout the game. And so, yeah, that's what I attribute it to mainly.
Xavier, you're kind of had a breakout season this year. How do you stay focused so that all of the things that you want to do in your career and everything that people are asking you about doesn't get in the way of what you're trying to do week in and week out with the team?
Yeah, I think it's easy when you have good people around you. I think my teammates and obviously my family just, keep me grounded. I stay in the present, really. I feel like obviously I hope for things and I want to do things in my life and my career, but I think my mindset is just about the next game and the next training, really. So I think it's easy when you have a mindset like that.
What's up, Bill? You've done really well defensively this season. Do you think the next step in your career is to maybe win more aerial duels on the offensive side?
Yeah, I think that's definitely an area of improvement. I think it's something we've been focusing on as a team. Try to get more dangerous on these attacking set pieces. Kind of a fluky one tonight, but maybe it'll snowball something for us.
So does that mean you're going to get more swole over this break?
Possibly, we'll see.
Okay. Gozo, your work rate is pretty heavy right now. Do you think that you can find a way to not work so hard and still see the same result? Do you prefer the work rate?
I think that's what I was just gonna say. I think my game is working hard and running for the team, and I think that's what gives me energy and gives me belief and confidence is when I run. And I feel like when I don't do that, I don't play as well. So I think it's honestly an advantage for me, but obviously an advantage for the team as well.
What do you think is your next step in your evolution?
Yeah, I think honestly just being able to take the ball in the pockets and just obviously decision making. I think you're never going to make the right decisions all the time, but I think just knowing where I am on the field and knowing what decisions to make based on the position I am in the field, I think that's my next step, and just probably my passing as well.
One last question here, Lily.
Xavier, congratulations. Are you doing well? You're scoring, which is more important. You feel before each game, you feel some pressure because you're doing well? And for example, you scored 2 times. What's going to happen? Do you thinking what's going to happen in the next game?
Nah, I think I don't feel any pressure. I think that's a tribute to my teammates and my coaches. They have full confidence in me, and I think I just want to play well every game. That's my mindset. I'll have a certain number of goals I want to score, a certain number of assists I want to score every game. I think I just want to play well and help the team, and I think when I do that, the goals and assists come by themselves. So,
the last one. For sure, this changed your life in your younger career. When you score, who's the first calling to you? Mom, dad, brother, friends, girlfriend?
My mom usually. Mom and my girlfriend probably. Yeah.
Thank you.
Because are you aware that Jason Christ did a bunch of backflips when he played?
I didn't know that, but someone told me that the other day. I did not know that. I've never seen
Is
that.
that your new go-to celebration?
Maybe. I almost killed myself today doing it. My mom said no more. I almost did.
We once had a guy break his ankle on a backflip
Oh, yeah?
celebrating a goal that was disallowed. Bobby and the Spindle.
That one's unfortunate for sure. That's bad news.
All right, new celebration.
Yeah, maybe I'll do something different.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, wow.